Hey everybody, welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. This week we're going to cover legalization and all of the crazy stuff that happened today, what's currently going on in the United States. We're also going to touch on Canada. We're going to give some opinions on some people here that have currently gone through different states and their legalization efforts, how Cali is going. Just a whole bunch of stuff as far as just bringing everyone up to date. I know there's a lot of people freaking out about today and panicking, and we just want to address that and cover that whole thing just as a topic today. I do apologize. I didn't have a chance to book someone because of the holiday. So no one was available for this week. So we just figured it ended up that Jeff Sessions decided to stick his foot in his mouth this morning and start a war. So we're going to cover that. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'll let everyone kind of go around the table and introduce themselves. You want to go first, Tommy?
Sure. Hi, Tommy J here from Old Fart Grows on YouTube. I've been really thinking a lot about what's happened today. I'm really glad we're going to have this focus on the show tonight.
All right, Tommy. I'm Marty, or AP Meds on YouTube. So you can check out my numerous rants on legalization throughout previous podcasts. But hey, let's also try to remember that it was illegal for a long time and they couldn't keep us down then either. So they can try again if they want and waste some more money. But hey, I'm glad to have Mr. Green Jeans back on again. I missed you the last couple of times you've been on, so appreciate seeing you again.
And the original jeans, I do have a website, garden.com, and I'm one of the old outlaws, so I was growing in New York City in the 70s when I'm sure I would have got probably shot if I'd gotten caught. It was great paranoia back in those days, but there was a real bolt of paranoia again today, wasn't there? Whew.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm Latewood from ILoveGrowingMarijuana.com, and welcome to the show. I believe we've got David over there too.
Yeah, I'm Hogmaster from ILoveGrowingMarijuana.com as well. Let's get on with the show, fellas.
Hey, Hog.
How's it going, fellas?
Hey, Brain Grow, I saw you're in chat. Check your email, man. I did send it out to you. I will double check, and I mean you're in the email, so you should have gotten an email. Shoot me an email if you haven't, and I'll make sure you get an invite to get you on the show. Sorry to interrupt the show with that. So where should we start first? You know what? Before we get into negativity, why don't we go over what everyone's been doing? We didn't really do that in the last 2 or 3 episodes. What have you been up to, Dave? Start off on a good one.
Been out of town, so been spending a lot of time with family and hanging out in the mountains and enjoying it very much. So, but that's about it.
Awesome. What about you? Has your grow been growing? It's been probably half a month since we've done that. Everything else been going good, or?
Yeah, I have carrots in them right now, just the watering carrots to let them do their thing till I get back home. So
by watering carrots, they're like auto waterers, right?
Yeah, I got an auto drip where it'll just keep them wet enough to keep them alive for 10 days.
Cool.
They've worked in the past. They just end up getting a little bit of a deficiency from not getting their nutrients, but it's expected for that long. They just go right back into the nutrients whenever I get home. So, and they usually recover pretty well. So we'll see how this round goes.
Right on.
I guess I'll jump in. Tommy J here from Old Fart Grows. I've actually, the last couple weeks, did some holiday stuff with the family. That was pretty groovy. I just took 10 days and went up to a house and just hung out with my girlfriend because I've been up and down the left coast. I went saw Marty, and we've seen a bunch of other people. We've been to shows in the Vegas and everywhere. Seemed to have started on the eclipse. It's like I keep missing my girlfriend. So I'm pretty excited. Not growing any plants, but I slept real nice for the last 10 days. That's what's been up with me.
Right on. Hey, somebody from chat was asking if they were going to have another grow series from the Bat Cave anytime soon.
Thank you for that. Golly, you have no idea. Did I just say golly? Good. Shut up.
You're wearing a hat for it.
You have no idea how much I would love to get back to a grow. Two things are going on with me on that front. One is I'm hanging around some really awesome growers that like with the aquaponic stuff. And I don't want to go back to salt farming. I've seen the light. I've been touched by the fishes, whatever the heck. And I'm really, really behind this growing method and technology. So we've talked about having a little side venture. We're looking for a spot to do that. I would love to do that. I might also wind up getting some stuff on Old Fart Grows about lab kinds of things. But we've been, running around like a head with our chicken cut out from under us, getting some things ready with the law, and they're changing the things again as we speak. Just haven't had time for it. Sorry, but boy, I miss everybody. I'm looking forward to getting back to it.
Awesome. What about you, Marty? What have you been doing? I know you're getting ready to move.
Not really much, actually. Just doing a lot of computer stuff. Wintertime, I have the 2 indoor systems still going, and the system on the front porch is still going, which is always impresses me because like it's frozen over a couple of times, and I don't know, those goldfish are tough, I guess. I don't know, they seem to do pretty well. And there's even some plants, like there's some what's in there, some chard, a sage plant, and some green onions. Like there's a lot of stuff that like was grown through the ice, freeze over on top, like where the condensation would build up on top of the media, would form a little ice layer across the top, and still growing right through it. And so I was pretty impressed with that, but I got to keep an eye on it for sure, because I haven't dropped a heater in it yet, but probably will at some point. But yeah, it's kind of cool that it'll at least just stay cycling, and for the most part, I thought I'd have to shut it down for the wintertime at some point if I didn't put a heater in it, but or move it inside.
You gonna get a heater from True Aquaponics, or?
Probably if I get one. Roger messaged me, with that one that they were advertising before, and a bunch of people have already used it, and so I'll probably do that. I have a little fish tank heater one. It would probably keep it from freezing, but it would have to run like constantly. So I think they were, I can't remember, he messaged me. They're not too expensive for the size that I need, but all my tanks are pretty small. I have a lot of small tanks as opposed to a big one. But yeah, so other than that, in terms of growing, not a whole lot. I have a little system inside with a couple of plants vegging that we looked at last time after I pulled the flowers out of those. I just have, what do I have? I think I had a couple of Gorilla Glues, a dog walker, and something else in there, just vegging out at the moment. Not really doing too much. It's pretty cold in there too, so they're not unhappy, but they're not super happy. They'd like it to be probably 15 degrees warmer than it is. But yeah, besides that, not really too much. Just a lot of computer shit mostly.
Awesome. What about you, Mr. Green Jeans? What have you been up to? We were talking a little bit earlier about genetic stuff here, about autoflower and growth speed.
Ooh, yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms there. Last week I was mentioning remember I said I had the twin the twin seedlings from the G13, and one of them has shown female, the other one still hasn't shown sex. So I suppose, knock on wood, there's still a possibility of that second one being a male.
I have a question for you. I've been thinking long and hard about last week's episode. Do you think, or do you know, if that gene that makes them the double seed is carried on the male or the female or both?
I have no idea. This is about the 11th time I've gotten a twin seedling like this, and they're hard to separate. I mean, you really get in there with your magnifying glass and your little. I take a couple of needles or whatever because the literally wrapped around each other. You know what I mean? And you've got to let them get going a little bit, but you can't leave them together too long because the one is going to be bigger and stronger than the other. So
that was my other question. If they come from the same seed, do they develop as separate plants that you can separate, or do they merge genetics and have some shared genetics? Like some trees.
These are
together when they're young. You can actually get some kind of different fruit. The fruit doesn't actually come out like comes out different.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a lot of speculation on that. I had talked about it quite a bit online with a bunch of the other twins that I'd had on, I think on IC Mag. So if you probably could find archives of those discussions on there. And because I was amazed, the first couple times it happened, turned out that I had a seed batch which had a lot of them in that seed batch. I would say about every 10th seed was a twin. So it was, and I can't tell you whether it was the mom or the dad because there was multiple dads involved. It was about F4 of White Wizard, which is my sort of remix of White Widow, and so it was already an inbred strain. Using a couple of males to cross in because I was starting to work towards open pollination. I didn't want to breed myself into a corner there, and so to speak, I've learned over the years. So I don't really know as to whether it was the male or the female. I was saving no clones of any plants at all. I think it was generation 3, if I remember correctly. I was not saving select clones from plants in that generation. I didn't start until around generation 6 to start kind of slowing things down a little bit, to start saving, clones to compare. And I just work on the memory of I'm good at memorizing traits, and I can stay focused, generation after generation. That's basically what you got to do. But I do remember that I'm pretty sure it was in generation 3. And I can't really remember exactly what number female she was, but there would have been a couple of males involved. So to answer your question, you were saying, would it be on the male side or the female side? My experience with those before would not have proved either way. If I had a clone of the male and a clone of the female, and I could remake that seed batch all the time, and then test that male against other females, you know what I mean, or cross other males into her, then we could answer questions like what you're asking. But I just only had that one sort of run of a bunch of twin seeds, which I learned the skill of being able to separate them, which turned, was hard, right? And so now I've got this G13 one. It'd be wild if the second one turned out to be a male, because I tell you, they're always twin males, and I think maybe a couple of times there were twin females, but never a male and a female out of a single seed.
Well, that makes sense because of the way that the seed would develop. It would be, not to say that it's impossible, because you can have fraternal twins that are male and female, like in mammals, for example. But let's say it's impossible, but the likelihood is lower percentage for sure.
It's happened with other plants before. I can't tell you offhand exactly what, but I think some kinds of grasses and stuff, rye or something like that, and it's called like an apomictic cross or something, but maybe it's not rye, because those kinds of grasses, they're all self-pollinating.
Is that something that's been stabilized in other species?
Well, not exactly another species, but a strain. It would be immediately stabilized, because theoretically they would be, since they're brother and sister, they're basically exactly the same genetics. So it's like selfing a plant, only not. You still have the legitimate male and the legitimate female. It would theoretically maybe be a little bit better than, I'm sorry, creating feminized seeds by using silver nitrate to stimulate a female plant to produce a male flower pollinator self. Plants that we use for crop and everything are all pretty much self-pollinating plants. Everything, tomatoes, everything. What you call that flower is a perfect flower, isn't it? Come on, botany guys. You were checking me out. You were correcting me on other ones before. I think, yeah, perfect flower is one that can pollinate itself. It's got both parts on, right, male and female on both.
Yeah, that's
Cannabis,
that's what I would want to be if I was alone on a desert island.
Pop.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily the goal for cannabis growers.
Who?
Unless we can maintain potency, if you could somehow deflect the fact that you reduce potency by producing seeds, that would be viable. But no
Well,
one's
the seeds don't usually. I've never really. It hasn't been until recently that I've actually pollinated entire plants. You know what I mean? And I always pollinate because on the bottom of the plant, even a plant this size, this is only in a quart container. A few of these branches on the bottom here is going to get 50, 100 seeds if I just pollinate these. There's enough pistils, and this is a sativa, heavy dominant, so it's got place, right? You're going to get a lot of seeds. So the plant doesn't use that much energy, doesn't affect the quality of the rest of the bud in the slightest, and it usually will produce nicer, bigger. It's just like when you thin the fruit off an apple tree, the remaining fruit is really, nice and burp. So it's the same thing with cannabis if you only pollinate part of the plant. It's only been recently that I've had experience with trying to make a lot of seeds. And I'll tell you what, you've got to really think about feeding differently. You've got to think about feeding fruit now. You're not feeding flowers anymore.
Yep.
So the nutrient requirements of the plant are heavier than just making flour. For sure, when you start seeding the whole plant. Sorry.
It definitely will pull more nutrients. I've noticed that too in the breeding rooms. The plants definitely pull more nutrients out of the solution faster with the seeding plants versus the unseeded plants. It's not even close.
Not even close, right? Even a few seeds, I'm sure, taxes the. In fact, you can see the non-mobile nutrients on the branch that and where they're being used up. You can see that because some nutrients the plant moves around. The plant, doesn't care. Some are just locked in that place, and when they are used up, boom, they're gone.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you decided to join us. I do want to make that announcement. I think Mr. Green Jeans is going to be our newest regular panelist here. He's definitely been putting in the effort, and we really much enjoy his conversation. So thank you very much for joining us, and I really appreciate the time you put towards this.
Golf clap, yay!
Right
Yeah,
on, welcome.
I'm going to learn a lot of stuff.
No, you guys are the ones.
I'm gonna have to start paying attention now.
Talk about it. I've got a bunch of questions I want to ask anyways too.
Hey, I saw that we have somebody else popped online here.
Oh, what's up, Fish?
Oh shit! We got Fish Conch Guy and Bro.
What's up, guys? What's up?
We've been talking about what everyone's been up to. What have you guys been up to? It's been a while since both of you all been on the show. How you guys been?
Busy. Brain, how you doing?
I've been pretty good, man. Just watching the flowers, just waiting for harvest. Should be looking at a late January, early February harvest for one of the Ninja Fruit ladies. Interestingly enough, one thing I'm finding out is that the plant that I have that's not in dual root zone seems to be developing and flowering a little bit slower than the one that is in dual root zone. I guess that's kind of to be expected because dual root zone plants just perform amazingly. But the frost is definitely coming in, and I just got one of the Rosinier rosin presses in, so I'm pretty excited to be able to use that thing whenever my harvest comes in also. So I'm going to be looking into getting me a new rig pretty soon. I was just showing a little bit of love to my grow room today, just sweeping and mopping up, cleaning everything up. I tend to be a little bit lazy on that front. But other than that, just moving along. I have 3 plants in flowering, so I'm just anticipating harvest.
Get
Yeah.
ready for some pressing.
Yeah. You should hit up Matt from Mountainside Glass. So, man, for those of you guys that didn't see that episode, it was incredible. He walked us through his whole glass shop. Definitely hit him up. He's got real good deals on glass, and you can get it online through him. And I'm sure if you mentioned it, you're through the show, he can help you out a little.
Awesome. That would be dope. Definitely going to look into that.
Yeah,
So you're
try
running
coupon
a
code
side-by-side?
DUDE as well.
Yeah.
What's that?
Coupon code DUDE. Go ahead.
Awesome.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Fish?
Oh, me?
Who's talking? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, not much is going on, man. Just got some plants and veg. I'm going to be flipping over to flower pretty soon. I got them in 1-gals right now. Running New Millennium Nutrients this time around. Just trained all but one of them with OG Springs. Doing a full run with those this time around because I think they're just a great product. Perfect for low stress training. Saves me a ton of time training my plants, and I get nothing but good tops. Very uniform. And yeah, probably gonna move the 1-gals to 5s late next week, and then I get a few days and flip over to flower. See if I can get something done in time for the DGC Cup. But yeah, that's all that's going on with me. Hope all you all have been well, and Happy New Year, everybody.
So Brain Grow, you're doing a side-by-side. You want to talk a little bit more about that? I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I got 2 plants that are in dual root zone right now, and one that I'm trying to just grow straight aquaponic, just in the hydroton media and control that as much as I can. I'm using for the soil. I've got probably about 15% Fox Farm ocean forest soil in there. I have rats, so I have a little bit of rat bedding in there. Bone meal, blood meal, a lot of stuff that I added in when I just barely started in like 2016, I think, is when I really started growing. So when I mixed that up, I kind of created my own soil mix based on recipes that you find online and stuff, And but the dual root zone plants are doing pretty awesome. The strain is called Ninja Fruit. It's an ocean grown strain. One of them, the one I have in dual root zone, doesn't seem to be purpling as much as the one that I have in just the aquaponic media bed, which is kind of weird. I'm not exactly sure what to think about that. The one that's in dual root zone is definitely putting on a whole lot more frost, like hardcore. Like I said, it just seems to be developing faster. It seems like the one that's in the media bed is just developing at like a 30% slower rate. It kind of seems like the stretch lasted a bit longer, it seems like, and the flowers started setting on about a week or so later. And I initiated flowering on both of them at the same time. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think probably some of the coloring and stuff that you were talking about might be different because you'll get insulation around the roots from the soil that you won't get in the media bed.
Right. That makes sense.
The roots are going to be, especially the parts that are in the air as opposed to the water. The ones in the water will probably get regulated
Right
by your water temperature, but the ones like especially around the base of the stalk will get a lot colder.
Right on. Well, yeah, it looks beautiful. I've been posting pictures regularly to ilovegrowingmarijuana.com, and that purple is just coming in dark. It looks awesome. I've never really had a really dark purple strain like that, so it's pretty nice to see. And it smells just amazing. Like I can't even just reach in there without getting oil all over myself.
Perfect. Greasy.
Yeah, exactly.
I miss that.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, man, y'all got any other questions about it?
Is your is it the same system? So you just have them like
Well, I have one that I just started flowering on Christmas that's in the same system. It's in dual root zone, but I actually, if y'all remember the little breeding system that I set up, it was a little under $300 budget buildup that I did. That's what I'm using for the pheno number 1. The pheno number 2 is the one that's in the media bed, and then number 3 is the one I just barely started flowering on Christmas.
Right on. Yeah, when I did dual root zone runs, I just added a lot more tea. So it'd be interesting. I don't know if you had dual root zone and non-dual root zone in the same system. I'm not sure how that would work, because you couldn't really stop the dual root zone plants from stealing nutrients that you would want to give
Right.
to the other one. So
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be interesting. But yeah, I think there's a lot of, like, even just the like the color change and the expression that you get from the cold. There's a lot of, I think, sort of interesting little niches that you can get into, whether you're doing
and
tips.
Definitely the temperature is definitely playing a role, because the one I have my little budget buildup in, that one is in a separate room as my main grow room. And the main grow room is staying like 5 to 10 degrees colder than where I have the other one at. So I guess that's playing a pretty big role too.
Makes sense.
I can't wait to squeeze out some nugs. I want to try and get some of that purple rosin.
What was the kind of press you bought?
It's a Rosinier MV2.
MB2, Rosinier MB2. I've been just looking at presses lately. It's so cool.
Yeah, I had it's pretty much probably one of the most affordable ones. There was a couple more that I was looking at as well. There's one, they're on Amazon as well, is the Rosinier. One of them is called My Rosin Press, and it looked like a pretty solid unit. It goes for $420, and the Rosinier, if you just contact the guy, he'll give you a 10% coupon code, so it brings it down from $400 to $360 just immediately, just for contacting the guy, So that's a pretty good deal right there. And then there was one more, what was it? The Mini Nug Smasher, I think is what it was called, and that one was for around $420 as well, I believe. And that one also looked like a pretty solid unit. So I was really wanting to check out that My Rosin Press, but this one I was like, hey, it's just the most affordable one for right now. Let's see how it goes, And it looks like a pretty solid built unit. I'm going to reserve my initial criticisms of the machine until I use it. So I'm not really gonna say anything yet. Yeah, so I wanna wait to see how it works,
Hey, Hog, you've been squishing lots of stuff.
Oh yeah, I actually received a second Rosinier right before I left out of town.
Ooh.
So
my Christmas present? Oh, you shouldn't have.
Well, I actually had a spring issue in the first one, and I contacted him, and he sent me a whole new unit. And I told him I'd send him the other one back. He's like, don't even bother, because it's the old model, and we don't want it. It's like, okay, well, I can try building something else out of it.
All right, then.
Okay,
yeah,
so
is
the press, is it spring loaded or what?
Yeah, yes, they are spring loaded.
That's what it is. It's just, okay. I was wondering, okay, all right. Yeah, I was trying to figure out the kind of physics on this thing, see how it works, but
yeah, you can pull the back off of it
and check it out.
Shows
okay,
all the springs and
I'm gonna have to do that.
It's actually very simple. It's made real simple, and you could actually pull it apart and make your own for another $79 and do a bottle jack setup.
Right.
Yeah, open the back.
More pressure.
I was like 8 years old, and I took apart the washing machine and put it back together. Totally. Open up the back of the thing. Look at it. Find out how it works. You'll love it.
And then they adjust real easy too. They're easy to adjust the bottom plates on them. and the upper plate. So
Yeah,
that's
I
another
was
bonus.
looking at the instruction manual that it came with, and it was showing how it seems to be pretty simple to adjust the bottom plate if you need to apply more pressure, I guess.
Yeah, and I can work with you on temperatures because unless you have a fluke, the temperatures are usually off by about 10 to 15 degrees.
Okay, so I mean, now that you mention that, what I noticed is that the initial plate that heats up is kind of wrapped around by another like chrome plate. It's really shiny. I don't know if it's chrome, maybe whatever. I don't know, but it's not like directly the plate that heats up. So, and it actually has a tiny gap in between the plate that heats up and that plate that wraps around it that actually comes into contact with the material when you press it. So I can definitely, like, just heating it up, I used my little laser thermometer to check the temperature of what it was getting up to when I initially got it in. I was kind of playing around with it to see how accurate the temperature was, and I was like, well, that seems to be off by a little bit. And that's when I looked at it a little bit closer. I was like, well, that's not even the plate that's actually heating up, So.
Hey, Marty.
Yeah, that's just a shield.
Marty, what do you think
Right.
if you was to throw some computer chip grease in there to take up that little space there? Because air sucks for transferring heat. Would he be take a bit of like the stuff when you put the chip on the board, a little of that grease to
Like
help the transfer?
silver or something like that. Yeah, you could definitely, if you're just looking to increase heat transfer, then yeah, you could definitely fill it up.
Yeah, I mean, heat transfer, I wouldn't really see it being that much of an issue. That's just something that I noted because all you'd have to do is make up for that temperature difference by simply heating it up a little bit more, like Hog said.
No. The physics of this gets really trippy really, really fast. Having those contacts, air sucks. Air sucks for it's an insulator. So anytime you can have direct contact between your elements and whatever it is you're wanting, whatever you can do to facilitate that will make your machine, just physics-wise, simply run better. You'll have far more control, more consistency across the area. That's why doing things in a bath is always better than doing things in the oven, no matter what the bath or the oven is.
And with it being able to adjust as easy as it does, you can get that bottom plate to pull up, and whenever you go to shut it, it'll be, you can adjust it to where it's flat as you need it to be.
What about getting the pressures consistent? If it's something like a hydraulic jack, how do you do that? Pressure gauge? How do you duplicate levels of pressure?
Well, they do have a pneumatic one, and after looking at videos on YouTube of that one is, if you can afford paying, what is it, extra 100, 150, that one's probably the way to go, because that one was like, just watching the videos of that one was just smashed the shit out of those nugs. You know what I mean? Just blasted those things. I was like, damn, that thing really puts that pressure down, as opposed to the one that you have just the lever on. So, I mean, if you have the equipment to go with that one, I think it takes like a 100 PSI compressor to run it. That thing looked pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's Country Boy on I Love Growing Marijuana, one of the mentors. He actually has the pneumatic, and he's running 120 on his, 120 pounds of pressure, and man, he is smashing shit like you wouldn't believe.
That doesn't even seem like that much. Is that 120 pounds per square inch?
It really doesn't seem like that much, and that's why I was really looking into that my rosin press, because that one I can't remember how much pressure that it was saying that one gets at the plates, but it was like so many thousands of PSI. I was like, damn, that one really puts the pressure down. So it seems like as long as it gets hot enough, the pressure will be adequate.
What's the point of the big bottle jacks? Then you can get the 20 people make conversions from the Harbor Freight, 20-ton bottle
Okay.
jack.
And speaking of that, one design that I was really interested in, I can't remember what exactly the company was called, but they have a hand crank rosin press that is similar to like the table vise, and in my opinion, that would be the ideal way to put pressure down on it, because you can feel that. You know what I mean? You can feel exactly how hard you need to go. You know?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah,
art.
it's like an upside down floor jack. That's what it looks like to me. You know, like a floor jack for your car. It looks
Yeah.
like it turned you upside down and put a hand crank on it.
I don't know.
Like-
Personally, I figure I'm just going to save money and use my wife's hair straightener. But that's just a personal choice.
It seems to be like it's an issue. I know like pressing is pretty new. I mean, like 2 or 3 years old, or whatever, huh? But it seems to be kind of an issue of balance of temperature and pressure. So maybe the
I've been
idea
able
of
to.
extreme pressure is to be able to use lower temperatures. I think.
Yes, exactly.
Could be talking through my hat because I really don't
No,
know
no,
much
that's
about
exactly the trade-off. It's pressure for
It is?
temperature, you know, which it
In
goes one
my
way or the other. It's either higher temperature, lower pressure, or basically, you know.
Or shooting in the dark.
And if you pay for a good rosin press, like, I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to say that the Rosineer is not a good rosin press, because I haven't even used it yet, and it looks like it'll get the job done, you know. But if you pay, you can get something that's going to be completely dialed in and going to put enormous pressure down, or at least the pressure that you need. You know, the machine's just going to be dialed in, you know, for lack of other words.
I've noticed whenever you compress the buds into pucks and take them.
Okay. And that's one other thing that I was kind of noticing about people doing it, is like they were just sticking the nug in there and smashing it. I was like, dang, man, I swear if you would just compress that thing into a puck, like you just said, you would get a lot more oil out of that on your first press, because that first press is really going to be your most high quality stuff, you know.
And you're only going to get about 3 presses out of a puck.
And I've seen that the my rosin press also comes with a little device where it's just a little press where you can press it into a puck and then throw it into the rosin press and squish that sucker out. And I thought that was pretty cool, which, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can get one of those pretty cheap on Amazon for like $10-15 or something like that. So that's not a huge deal, you know.
Just a pollen press.
Right, exactly, a pollen press, you know. And that would definitely increase the quality of the results that you're getting out on your first press.
Oh, I'm getting crazy amounts on my.
Is that what you're doing, Hog? You're pushing it into a little puck?
Absolutely.
Right on.
My pucks are a good half-inch thick by the time I'm done.
Nice.
And then by the time I'm done pressing it, it's a sheet of paper. And there's so much shit coming out of it. It's like, keep coming. Oh, yeah. I like what I see.
Awesome.
I bet those pre-pressed pucks store better too. You know, if you press them like that and then vacuum seal them or whatever.
I've even taken them and thrown them in the freezer.
Yeah, right.
Just trying different stuff.
No air. Yeah.
Soak them in coconut oil and forget about them. They'll love you.
Yep. So what I do with my pucks left over. So I have a Pikes Peak Pure Pressure Press. Sorry, try saying that 5 times fast. And the nice thing about it is I can do up to 50 grams of bubble at a time per press. I can do full ounces of rosin per press, which I haven't seen anything else in the industry. That there is a couple out there that are square tech where they have a square plate. But the problem is your material in the center of that square plate doesn't have enough time to travel all the way to the end of that plate. So having it in a long rectangle makes a hell of a lot more sense, because then you have short travel times for your fluid, and you can excrete more. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. So what I do is I save up all my pucks, and what I've been doing is cooking them down in like Tommy said, in coconut oil. Actually, I've been donating them to a friend of mine who's she's in her mid to upper 50s, and she has a ton of pain, and she has a church group with other elderly people that are also in a ton of pain, and she cooks it down and makes a coconut oil out of it, and they use it for both cooking and for topically for her, and donates it to her church group.
Well, I know what I'm going to do with the 4 jars I have.
She brings the edibles to the Bible meetings.
Yeah, she brings it to her church and gives it
Well,
out. Yep. So when I do my in-house runs, just for myself with my own medical plants, I always give them to her. I save them, I throw them in the freezer, and then when I'm done when I collect up, my big bag of them, so many, a pound or two, I give them to her. Makes a bunch of medicine for people, and it's decarboxylated. It's already, it's already been heated once, so it's got more CBN in it, so it's much better for that kind of use, topically or for cooking. So it's a much better application, and I'm getting, if you're a company, you can get a financial benefit of it, but at least it's going to someone that's getting some benefit of it, in the community, from my byproduct that I would normally just throw in the trash. What else would you do with it? So if you can either produce it yourself or donate it to people that actually are in pain, and throw them in the crock pot with a bunch of coconut butter, wait 8 to 12 hours and come back, or ideally a couple days, and set it on the lowest setting and come back in a couple of days, and that's it. You don't have to, it isn't complicated, and then you get a really strong medicine that anyone can make. Anybody can make that. You can grow the crappiest plants in the world, half-ass grind them, throw them in your coconut oil, strain it, and you got a good material out of it. It's simple. And Tommy's given recipes on that probably 5 times now. If you go back through the old episodes in brutal detail on how to do that. I think he did it again last episode. He gave a short version. So if you're looking for that, I know we've had all episodes with Tommy where he's going over lots of different cooking instructions. So if you are looking to learn more about in-home cooking, please go back and watch some of our older episodes.
I made his exact recipe. And it's so wonderful. Decarboxylating in the jar beforehand, and soaking in the oil. We didn't use coconut oil. We used canola oil, which doesn't absorb nearly as much as coconut oil. I mean, but it's still got so many of the older relatives to try it, and many of them are now using it. These are people who've never used cannabis before in their lives, and it's a reasonably lower potency. I mean, if you don't eat too much, you barely feel it, right? Especially if you make it out of a really long seasoned sativa or something like that. We made it out of my Oreo plant, which is like a cup of, it's like a espresso, practically, and so it gets you all focused and sharp, and the grandmas are like, wow, this is pretty nice. It's really easy to get older people, and I think everyone over the age of 60 ought to be. I mean, wasn't there a test recently? They showed that it prevents cognitive decline in mice and stuff. I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer. Obviously, it does. Yeah, So all of us older folks ought to be eating it regularly.
Good people don't use marijuana. Only bad mice.
Oh yeah.
Are we gonna cross that threshold now?
We're just go into the session.
So much out here in California.
Yeah. Sure. Does anyone else have anything to say before we get negative on this episode? We started the year off on a good note.
No, this has already been like the mood of my day since I saw the news this morning. So, by all means,
bring it.
Right, dude. So
bring it.
I just want to say, like,
in session.
So just to preface this episode, I was in a meeting for my company. I won't get into details. And in the middle of the meeting, all of a sudden, my phone exploded. And when I say exploded, I mean it rang for 2 hours straight in a 2.5 hour
So not like
meeting.
a Galaxy 7?
No, it's a Pixel, actually. But
okay, so it didn't literally explode. All right, cool. Keep
going. No. Yeah. But it literally, my phone just did not stop moving on vibrate for a good. I mean, I had to just turn it off of vibrate. My phone just exploded. When this Jeff Sessions announcement came down. So let's just start off by what happened. The first thing that happened today. So let me go back to the thing here. So the first thing that happened today was the Cole memo got repealed, or basically Jeff Sessions told the DOJ to disregard the Cole memo. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, the Cole memo basically told the federal government to basically regard cannabis prosecutions as the lowest priority as far as federal prosecution. So you should not go after cannabis people when you have something that's much more violent or much more important to go after. And that's basically allowed our industry to continue to grow and flourish in the way that it has. It's given us to a lesser extent, really loose bank protections, and a couple of other things that have basically allowed this industry to become what it is today in the United States. This was repealed today. Now, this is a couple of implications. First off, this is a big deal in the fact that, like, they can now look into this stuff as far as charges. The other thing is that the district attorneys and the U.S. attorneys that are in place in all these states were appointed by Obama and are not looking for this already, have been used to dealing with these old set of laws since 2014. Most of these guys have been appointed since 2014, with a couple of exceptions. And that's how they're trained. So they're not going to immediately start headhunting for cannabis growers to begin with, because these were Obama appointed people. Now, some of them were forced out, and then some of them resigned today, which I'll bring up. So the U.S. attorney for the Northern California resigned today and said he's starting some private law firm or something like that. So you're already seeing U.S. attorneys in cannabis legal states resigning so they don't have to deal with this shit. So whether or not that is any kind of foretelling of what's going to happen, I don't know. It definitely is something that makes me nervous. Now, the thing that makes this not a huge issue and something that everyone needs to understand, and we're going to cover right now, is the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment. Now, the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment prevents the federal government and the DOJ from spending a single dime, even a penny, to prosecute anyone following medical cannabis laws or recreational cannabis laws, as long as they follow state law. Now, this particularly pertains to medical patients because they have a little bit better protection on that. But there could be a legal argument, because of the way that it's worded, that it also includes recreational. Now, it's not quite as solid of an argument, but when it comes down to legalese, probably would shake down in the courts to end up that way, based on, I've spent 6 hours researching this today to give you guys a good informed response on this. And because I need to have one for the company that I work for.
It's our job.
So I spent a lot of time trying to make sure what was BS, what was not, and research the crap out of this. Now, the Rohrabacher-Farr Act is attached to the government spending bill that covers what the government funds each year. Now, that bill has been under temporary extension through currently January 14th. That is the next time where those protections could, in theory, be repealed. Now, more than likely, they're going to extend it again so they can come up with a proper spending bill. The Republicans want to push the spending bill past the next 2 years. And you're already seeing an enormous congressional pushback, which I'll cover the article in a minute, but Congress has already immediately banned any further DOJ appointments, any attorneys for the Department of Justice, until either the Rohrabacher-Farr Act and the Cole Act are reinstated, which the Rohrabacher-Farr Act has not been repealed yet, but those protections be formally preserved, along with the ones that were repealed today in the Cole Act, which basically told federal government to prioritize cannabis on their prosecutions as far as guidelines for district attorneys. Now, district attorneys do not have to follow those guidelines. That's up to them. They have to follow them to a certain extent, but they can still choose not to prosecute. So I don't think if you're in a state like California or Colorado, Oregon, or Washington, you're in trouble. But if you're in a state like Arkansas or a state like Florida that's just coming online, that might be an entirely different equation. That is not the same, where you don't have that same long-term state backing because they're used to milking that cash cow, which is the tax revenue coming in from the the cannabis production. I think that's probably our biggest saving grace in this, is the fact that you have Colorado that's making 1.7, that's made 1.6 to 1.7 billion dollars in tax revenue since they legalized. You have California that's estimated to make over $1 billion in tax revenue this year.
Yeah.
You have Oregon that made hundreds of millions of dollars, Washington hundreds of millions of dollars, New Mexico hundreds of millions of dollars. Lots of states made ludicrous amounts of money in tax revenue. Do you think they're going to turn around and let that get pulled out from under them when it's one of their largest income sources? No, they're not. And that's probably the biggest saving grace that we have right now.
I have a question. Do you think the black market got bigger or smaller today?
The black market got revitalized today. With a lot of people in Humboldt and other people that were worried about the market being pulled out from under them and the price crashing, that are now seeing dollar signs.
Yeah, that's the way. There's plenty of people that were like, "Ooh, I don't know, I just be like, fuck it and go back to the black market." And then today they were like, "No, fuck this, I'm done. I want nothing to do with it. Not even getting a card." Like, there's just like,
dude, I was almost there today.
Dude, you have no idea. Like, if the Rohrabacher or FAR Act gets repealed and they go whole hog after the cannabis industry, I don't know what anybody in the cannabis industry is supposed to do at that point, short of fleeing the country. I don't know. Like, they're straight up, you're going to have over 1 million people just leave. Like, there's no other. What would you do? They can back prosecute as far as they want to if they decide to go insane. Not that they're going to do that, but they could.
I just don't think that they, like, even if they wanted to, I don't think they could prosecute people. But what it allows them to do is pick and choose. Like, if there's somebody that they want to, they're like, oh.
Well, they'll go after the big fish for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't want that red guy. Fuck that guy. I'm gonna prosecute him.
Well, good. We got fish on this podcast. That means they're gonna go after him.
Yeah, my social media presence will vanish real quick.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm back to a mask and old fart grows, dude.
Right? But like, just the fact that they're willing to destabilize an industry that's like, so this is an industry that's projected to be $50 billion by 2020 in the United States, and they're now willing to destabilize it. Arguably the largest sector for jobs growth in the entire nation in terms of percentage. There's nothing that even comes remotely close, and you're going to go throw a bomb on that? What the hell are you thinking? Especially with the opioid crisis, every single state that's a medical state has at least a 25% lower lethality rate for opioid users.
Well, that's what they're doing. Cannabis leads to
75
all the time.
Across the board lower.
It's proven, son.
Yeah.
Haven't you seen Jeff Sessions' quote on marijuana versus the opioid epidemic? He thinks it's stupid that people think marijuana is the cure to the opioid crisis. Quote, stupid.
Scientifically proven.
I'm stupid.
Science.
I'm stupid. I don't eat any more opiates. I'm one of those stupid people.
It's not even beyond science observation at this point. Like, we don't even have to be able to explain it. Like, we can follow the trend and be like, look, here, legalization is coming to the state. There's access to an alternative. And as soon as they get access to that alternative, the rate goes down. And observe rate. It's not even like a lab study that we're doing somewhere. All you have to do is just look at this by observing the real world. It's like it's not even something you have to, like, believe some scientist in a lab code that's happening. All we're doing, like, is just tracking who's dying and who's not dying. It's pretty easy to figure out. Like, it's not something we need to have here. That's what I'm irritated about. It's like,
little breaky up there, Marty.
And yet beyond that, it's even more simple for somebody to tell you that they're getting relief from their chronic pain.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You know, the thing about California is that we have a special situation here in that we really we need federal legalization because so much of our crop is shipped out across the rest of the country. We don't consume it here in California. There's no way if you wanted all the guys upstate to cut back, and only supply California, that would just reduce their. I think we ship out 4/5 of the crop. I think we only consume 20% at the most here in the state. And so we need a federal legalization because what are you going to do? Put all those legacy players out of business? And they're the guys that grow the good stuff. The new players are not really, they're okay, but you know what I mean? So we have, I think, a unique situation.
Steve, to your point, I was kind of asking Steve earlier today. I said, is this little fucking twat Keebler elf from a tobacco state? And Steve says, yeah. I go, I wonder if tobacco's just wanting to clear the deck and then just bring their Twinkie people who went to university in to do all this, as if a book. Now, books are great. Don't get me wrong. I don't burn them or anything, but there's so much more going on when, like, you look at the brain trust that's even on this panel. That doesn't come out of your typical community college. It just doesn't, And
actually, Tommy, you're actually preaching to a conspiracy theory on this one that I've been going on. And that's that they're going to use this to try and clear all the mom and pop growers and all the smaller grows, long-term people out of the field. So that way it's all corporate run, like you're saying, by the people who line the government pocketbooks.
That's what this whole thing is about.
Absolutely.
That's what the whole thing is about. Look at they did the same shit in Oregon, the same shit in California. The whole thing is to clear it for pharmaceutical industries and larger companies to just basically come in with their sides.
In past episodes, I've talked about what they are doing in Texas, and that's all they're setting it up for. They're setting it up for corporate takeover. The only way to meet the people halfway is to give them their home grow.
Yeah,
Philip Morris announced today that for 2018, Philip Morris is going to step away from cigarettes. What do you think that means?
Yeah, that's right. I read that
we
today.
We can talk like this, but I got aluminum foil here in case things get crazy, and I'm willing to make a hat out of it. I will. But I think
Philip Morris is going to change her name to Philip Marley's pretty soon.
Let's not get too crazy.
Well, you know how everybody's always saying, there'll be like the big industry people, but then you're going to have like the craft brews. Like you got Miller Lite, but then you got the craft beer industry. I'm just worried they're going to try and knock out the craft industry for cannabis altogether. So that way the only thing left is that corporate bullshit.
Yep. That's the
people who are the connoisseur growers who actually care about their product and their patients are going to be just run out of everything.
Connoisseur wind up being the new black market.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel, Tommy. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, the market's going to be flooded with Budweiser, and you're going to have these craft people, and they're only going to be able to be supported in markets that have high population volume. Big cities are going to be the only places that have these craft markets. If you're not close to one, you're screwed. Straight up, unless you go your own.
So many people can grow your own. Exactly. Keep coming back to that. And that will drive down prices like crazy. If 3 guys on your block have, I said this before, have a 3-pound plant in their backyard, you're all going to be gifting it.
Exactly. That's why I say the only way to meet people halfway is to let them grow their own. That is the only compromise.
I think everyone's heading toward that. They've been rushing toward it over the last 20 years. I've seen a gigantic.
Not in Arizona and not in Washington. Washington, you don't have home grows. In Arizona, if memory serves me right, if you're within 20 miles of a dispensary, you cannot legally grow in your own home.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck that. I'm sorry.
That's a fucked up law.
Yeah, so it's like
there's absolutely no logic behind that. There's no logic.
Nevada is the same way. Nevada also has the distance rule.
That's like if you're within 20 miles of a hooker, you have to sleep with your wife. What's up with that?
Actually, if you're within 20 miles of your wife, you can't sleep with the hooker.
Something, yeah. There's a math thing in there somewhere. I don't know.
Beautiful. Nice, Tommy.
But yeah, I'm not real
Okay,
fond
I'm
of being told
breaking
what
out
I
the
can do in my
foil.
own
I'm
home.
making a hat. Making a hat.
Oh man, so that's kind of the quick and dirty of what happened today. Again, my phone exploded. Some things I wanted to go over was that there was bipartisan blowback on both sides pretty brutally, and they're threatening a whole bunch of implications on the DOJ if this isn't immediately addressed. Let me explain to you why. The biggest reason is Democrats and Republicans are up for election this year. Republicans do not want to be running against a bunch of Democrats that are pro-weed in weed states as the party platform that is against it, and as the Republican Party that just prosecuted a bunch of growers. They're going to lose. And they're already fighting an uphill battle thanks to Trump. So they're looking at losing the Senate and the House, and that's the reason why this is all happening in the first place. Just so you guys understand, this has nothing to do with cannabis at all, and everything to do with just political survival.
They're not real bright, are they?
No, definitely
I'm
the
just
dimmest
saying.
crowns in the box.
It might be they don't
Why
have
are they making it a
one of the
state right
two.
issue,
They're really
not a
stupid, but
public
they
health
have-
issue?
I can't figure it out.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think y'all were talking over each other.
Yeah, it lagged, I think.
Oh, as a group of people on the internet, we are unbelievably polite. I've been on company calls here and again that have
Fuck that.
been like shootouts at the OK Corral. It's a pleasure to come here and talk with you gentlemen.
Likewise.
We
All right.
love you.
So,
That's
So
the bad thing. Jeff Sessions is trying to make it a states' right
let's
issue whenever it's actually a health issue.
So let's go over all the state medical laws right now. So
Okay, hold on. Wait. Before you do that, I just want to ask you to clarify something. What criteria would he be able to try and stop the renewal of the Rohrabacher, whatever it is, thing?
he doesn't have any criteria. All he needs to do is get enough Republicans to there's so many Republicans and Democrats that keep that bill alive, and he has to convince the ones that keep doing that to not do that. But they're in a political year where the Republicans, they're terrified of running against weed in a year where the biggest populated state in the country just legalized weed. So it's fine. I wouldn't worry about that.
Like I said, it's
Okay,
Jeff
cool. So I'd have
Sessions
to,
is trying to
I'd
make
hate
it.
to have to delete my Instagram and my YouTube real quick.
No, you're as someone that's more paranoid than you are. Yes, I wouldn't worry yet.
Okay, sounds good.
So, go ahead. Whoever else had a question, Dave, I think.
No, I was just saying he's making it more of a state right issue than medical health issue.
Yep. So you got Cory Gardner, Republican of Colorado, is threatening to block, along with other senators, to continually block all Department of Justice nominees until Jeff Sessions reserves.
Conversations that I had with Senator Jeff Sessions prior to his
so Jeff Sessions, unless Attorney Jeff Sessions reverses a decision to roll back a policy allowing legalized recreational use of marijuana in some states. So unless he goes back to the reinstating the Cole memo, they're blocking, as far as the, for the indefinite future, all the Department of Justice nominees. Now, that's a really big deal because they're what, 600 or 700 judges short right now, thanks to Trump. So that's a lot of people that doing a lot of weed prosecutions and a lot of drug prosecutions that are sitting empty right now. And that's making a big impact on the war on drugs right now. And he can't fill them until this gets addressed. So it was really nice to see both Republicans and Democrats immediately retaliate in a way that had actual teeth on it rather than just talking. within 2 hours of that announcement, mind you. That was surprising. I've never seen a government response like that. I don't know about you guys.
Absolutely. I saw that video this
Absolutely.
morning as well, and I thought the same thing. Hats off to him for protecting his constituents of Colorado.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cory Booker really fast responded as well. He was tweeting about it almost immediately and posted a video social media page. So you do see some people that think are embracing some of the aspects of social media that will allow them to do their jobs better instead of just be floss. Basically.
GOP members in legal states or states that have passed medical marijuana laws are going to fight tooth and nail, because to them, it's not just their own skin on the line. It represents billions of dollars in taxes. And so it's not, some of the argument here, has nothing to do with nothing. It's all about the money.
Yep. And that's the reason why it's going to continue to succeed. Look at how it succeeded in other countries. Look at Canada. It's the same reason.
Agreed.
So you got a lot. So this is medical states: Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, D.C., and West Virginia all have medical cannabis bills.
That's a lot of future heroin addicts.
That's 29 states. Okay, so on top of that, just to fully cover medical, let me pull this up the other link here. You also have Alabama, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Mississippi, the most Republican state in the union and the entire country, Missouri, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming that all have CBD laws, which are basically medical cannabis laws. Okay? And then you have 8 states that are fully legal. So at the end, when you combine the 18 plus the 29 that you already have, you only have it was less than 10 states left that don't have CBD or regular anymore. There's almost no states left that don't have some form of cannabis law. They can't.
They hate little girls.
Bullshit war. They simply can't.
Little girls with epilepsy.
Yeah.
You're going to need seizures because judgmental assholes.
Yeah, sorry, it's illegal in this state, dear. You're just gonna have to suffer.
Allegedly.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Yeah, you can't come down on the wrong side there. You can't deny the little girls their medicine. Sorry, that's wrong. So,
and then this year you're gonna have New Jersey is going to legalize this fall. The governor has already said that. The new governor,
Chris Christie wrote the bill.
Yeah. Chris Christie is going to be given 2 concrete shoes and pushed off into Hudson Bay by the mob when he leaves. Maine.
Did you just call him Chris Crispy or Chris Christie?
Yes,
Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, he beat me to it. I was going to say Krispy
I was
Kreme.
like, I'm hungry, but I'm not hallucinating.
Chris Krispy Kreme. Maine.
You cut him up and eat Krispy and come out.
So Maine's framework goes in online here tomorrow. Actually, Maine gets legal weed tomorrow. Vermont's going to pass their final bill here sometime in January for their legal distribution. Michigan is going to have a ballot initiative on November 6th for legalization for recreational. Rhode Island is going to have their recreational stuff passed by sometime midsummer. Massachusetts will have legal sales on July 1st. That's states that aren't selling right now. Okay? So Maine has medical and Michigan has medical. Rhode Island is medical, Mass is medical, but those are more legalized rec states that I'm talking about. So again, between tax revenue and the fact that this is just an onslaught, they can't keep fighting. They don't have the funds. Please explain to me the justification for spending $1.5 billion to $3 billion that they estimate it would cost to prosecute everyone, and why that's important.
It's
And
almost
you couldn't
like
justify that to Congress.
It's almost like you're saying the Trump administration made a mistake. What could you possibly base some assertion like that on?
It's important because politicians will keep getting their funding.
Like that.
It's in Hillary emails.
In the emails, right. Podesta predicted all of this.
Oh, don't get me started on the emails.
Sorry.
Butter emails.
Right.
So do we light our underwear on fire, or what's the reasonable position to take at this point, guys? What do y'all think?
The reasonable
vaccination effect.
is to make sure
we're protected. They can't afford.
Make sure you call your congressman. Make sure you call your congressman and senator and tell them to support the Rohrabacher-Farr Act. Stop. Don't sit here and complain. Don't bitch on it on Facebook. Don't fucking post it on Twitter. Tell your friends to call that asshole. Send them the number for the person, not asshole, but whoever it is that represents you. If they're a Trump supporter, yes, you can call them an asshole. If they're not a Trump supporter, and then, you know, maybe they aren't. But tell your local representatives to get out there and just, you know, tell them that you support this and that you have family members that rely on this for their livelihood, and not only for their livelihood, but to survive. You have medical patients that you know and people in your life that you know that have had their lives changed by this. It's turned my life around, and how I'm able to. I had a crippling digestive tract disorder before I started using cannabis heavier, and it's giving me my life back. I can work an 8 to 12 to 14-hour day if I need to. I couldn't work more than 4 hours before that. I was literally didn't have the energy because I couldn't digest enough food in a day. So
I don't know.
people
Jeff
don't
Sessions says you're
that.
using that as an excuse to smoke weed and get high.
I got pictures and doctors, you know, a stack of paperwork this high to prove that. You know, I don't need to prove that to anyone. You know, aside from my spine, shit. Tommy, you tell people your story on that one.
All right, I'll cover it real short if you want me to. I got back into cannabis since I was like a teenager or late teens. I think I was done with cannabis by like 23 or whatever. And I went off into construction. I have all my fingers. I ran a cabinet shop, and they're all here. Everybody who worked in my cabinet shop has all their fingers. Okay. We had no drugs around. When I got injured after a life of being a contractor, the doctor was constantly increasing my opiates. I was up to a handful of pills a day, and he says, "Have you tried cannabis?" And I'm like, "Yeah, when I was a kid." And long and short of it is, he says, "You know, start trying this. Maybe we can cut down the increases in the opiates." It accomplished that. Along the way, I learned about CBDs and how important they are. Wound up growing them. But over time, between increasing my relationship with the plant and, you know, learning more how to dose myself with oils and different stuff like that, using it as a medicine. I was using it exactly like you use oxycodone or the morphine or the muscle relaxers and stuff like that. I learned some different strains could get me there. Fair enough. And I'm now just over a year 100% opiate free. And if you were to look at my MRI, there's like, if you look at the bones in your spine, there are these white things in between. Those are the discs. There are 7 of mine. They're just fucking gone. You know? And so I wind up hurting a lot. And this is something that I can take. I can totally function. I can drive a car. I can, you know, talk with cousins and nieces and nephews and go to family functions, everything. Where when I was on the opiates, I was a bit of an ass. And for some reason, these plants don't have the same stuff on me. But there's no there's no real papers there in scientific literature to say that, because everything's been as a Schedule 1. You can't get funding. If you say you're working on this, they'll take funding away from that. It's just been, a grudge fuck trying to get paperwork on this. If you go out into the literature, there is far more documented literature on green tea, than there is on cannabis. And so, I'm just one story. I know it. But I've gotten pretty passionate about it, and I've changed my whole stuff. And I'm somebody, just so you know, I've worked in the homes of people out of the second Bush administration. I come from a rather conservative lineage, and there's a lot of people out there in the world that are depending on this, that are not speaking up. I'm really hoping, like Steve was saying, contact your senator. There's something called ResistBot. I'm trying to find the number on it here. I know if you look them up online, ResistBot, wherever you are, there's a text number, and I just don't know the flipping text number for it.
And give you advice.
Maybe somebody can find it.
I'm sure you can find it by the end of the episode here, but that would be the biggest thing. If people want to get out there and help fight this and do something, call your senator. Let's fix this now. You guys have the power to do that. There's so many times where we're helpless. This is not one of them.
50409. 50409. And you just text resist to that number, and they will respond to you. It's completely free, just so everybody knows. 50409. You text resist to that, and they'll say, what do you want to say? They'll ask you a couple questions about who you are. They will put you wherever you are in contact with all of your people. And if you start getting political, they even invite you in more. They've taken things that I've written, they put them into editorials and different papers and stuff like that. So it's a free service you can get involved in. Just so you know, full disclosure, I have donated money to ResistBot because I like what they're doing. They don't care what your political persuasion is. They just want you involved. And they just provide a platform that's pretty tech savvy. You could do it whenever you're pissed, sitting on the bus or sitting on the toilet. You just pull out your phone and you text resist to 50409. 409 like the cleaner. 50 like $50. 50409, and it's a straight up service. No, they're not affiliated with anybody other than people that use the service, and it's 100% free. Unless you start getting into it, I suggest you throw them a few bucks, because they're doing a banging job making your voices heard. And that's what Steve's talking about, is we have to have our voices heard. And if it's hard for you, you've got a frickin' cell phone. Get on it. There's no reason not to. They'll capture your signature, everything. Well, I just got political, didn't I? Should I start talking about religion now?
No.
No, it was not. It was good.
Awesome. So
who do we have in chat tonight?
I just wanted to bring up those points. Yeah, who do we do? We have a lot of people in chat. We've had 10 to 15 viewers the whole episode. It's been a great episode. We got Larry Haggerty. Says Tommy's story and others like this can do more to help a good part of the people across the country who do not know this and have not truly been exposed to this side of cannabis.
Thank you.
We got a guy named Christopher. Says the government is the source of almost all our troubles. What else do we have on here? So got a bunch of people. Gates Farms 215. What's up? Poor Man Grow. What's up, man? EDSD or ECSD. Glad to have you back. High Grade.
Shout out to all the live viewers.
OMCXX. Thanks for everyone else that's watching. Always good to have you guys on. hold on, I clicked off the episode here. Okay. So the other article I wanted to bring up is Oklahoma, actually. So Oklahoma is going to vote on June 26th, as of today, on medical marijuana. So congrats, Oklahoma, starting to break into the deep South. Again, another reason why I don't think the Jeff Sessions stuff's going to have any kind of real long-term implications, but definitely could screw shit up the next 2 years, for sure, if he decides to go gun ho. So,
And you,
then we had a question.
Sorry, you think he's more likely to go after the new states?
I think his idea is to try and discourage states from coming online.
Right.
More than anything else. I mean, if they're already getting tax revenue, they're not about to cut that arm off, you know?
How's that going?
With what?
Yeah, discouraging new states. What do we have? Like 2 or 3 states that have marijuana laws, right? How's that going? How's that going?
Between now and July 1st, there's going to be 3 new states selling recreationally.
Yeah.
So, and potentially 4 that'll have medical. So that's just between now and July. So, so we had a question from chat. Actually, this came from the community chat off the Ponics channel. Hey guys, thanks for all you have shared. Been subscribed for a while now. I have a question. The indoor dual root zone system has plenty of water circulating the system, not to mention evaporation through air stones and other aeration methods. That issue is humidity. Can you please spare some tips on building, designing, equipping indoor dual root zone aquaponic setups? I would say in regards to the humidity, the biggest issue would be that you want to make sure that you're getting dehumidifiers on here. I know we had Quest that we did a real good episode, an interview on with Quest about dehumidifiers. But you can go to any hardware store, any grow store, and get a decent dehumidifier that'll help keep your humidity, in that whatever range you're aiming for your VPD based on your temperature. And we've covered vapor pressure deficit in some previous episodes, I think 2 or 3 episodes. I know that I think probably it was best covered by the guys from Spectrum King. I think they had probably the even better explanation than the ones that I did. So I would highly recommend going back and seeing those episodes. But definitely, looking at dehumidifiers based on the square footage and liters per hour that you're looking to pull from that room will be your determining factors. So
can I ask you something, Steve, on that? Using that water that you collect with the dehumidifier, I say absolutely not. What say you?
So I agree, and I'll explain why. Now, in theory, you'd think that dehumidified water would be no big deal. The problem is the condensers have one of 2 metals on them.
Yep.
Copper or zinc.
Yep.
Both of which are lethal in a closed-loop system like an aquaponic system or a hydroponic system to both plants and fish if I were to continually use that for more than 6 or 8 months. So if I'm out of water and the power is out and an earthquake happened, yeah, that's fine. I can get away with it for a month or 2 if I was in a critical situation where I did not have an option. Yes.
But not continuously.
Yeah, but I would not do it continuously. Yes. If I had to do it for a pinch because of an emergency, yeah, absolutely. Once or twice or 3 times, it's not going to hurt anything, 100%. Anything beyond that, you're getting dangerous, especially if it's a newer machine. The older it gets, the safer it is, but you're still risking it. Now, you could use that every now and then for your outdoor plants, maybe once every 3 months or something like that would be fine. You could just spread it around and use it for your lawn or something and be fine. It's not to say that the water's useless, but you don't want to use it repeatedly on the same area because of the heavy metal buildup.
And not on a high value crop. It's just like, it seems like you're introducing too many variables that you have enough things to count on rather than, oh yeah, I just ran this past all the raised connections, in the condenser coils and everything like that. And nobody was thinking about feeding.
I've seen aluminum and stainless and wrought iron condensers that work just fine, and those would not apply. Those would be fine. if it had one of those three, but those are rarer and more expensive. So if you had one of those three for your condenser unit, then that would be fine. Just you need to actually understand what's in your dehumidifier before you go
Do you
ahead
know
and
what
use that.
Quest uses or Ideal Air?
I do not know off the top of my head.
Oh, Steve, you're supposed to know everything. Come on.
I know. I'm sorry. Well, you got the information on there. It's easy enough to hit them up. They're great guys. I talk to them on semi-regular basis. So
We would say you're fired, but we'd have to get guests and stuff. So.
yeah, right. Speaking of which, so Jorge Cervantes is like 3 a.m. his time when we do our normal episodes. So we're gonna have a midday or a Saturday episode, I think, when we do him, just to accommodate him. You know, maybe do like a 10 a.m. Saturday or something like that. If everyone
it's almost the same. We might need to.
Also, I'll be speaking up in Portland at the end of the month if anyone's interested. I did want to mention that real quick. I'll have more information on that here soon. There's a website up on Eventbrite. It's through the guy that's running in Dutch Blooms. I forget what his name is at the moment, but he's the one putting it on. It's a really, really good show. Jeff Lowenfeld will be there. Glenn Ingram and a couple of other guys are going to be there too. It's going to be really awesome. Yeah, a lot of cool soil science guys, a lot of cool permaculture guys, a lot of interesting fungal and microbial guys will be there.
Sounds good, man. I'll try to make it.
Hell yeah. Let me know. Yeah, we'll have a good time. I'll give you dates here soon. I think it's the 28th and 29th. I need to double check. So we've also been kicking around well, never mind. I don't want to mention that yet. Register a really cool event at some point this year for the Aquaponic Cannabis community in Portland. More information coming soon. There's some stuff in the works, but I think if everyone's looking to get together
in the Portland area.
Yeah, I think if everyone's looking to get together, there might be an event in the Portland area here for aquaponic cannabis enthusiasts before the end of the year here. We're working on that with a couple of people, and I probably shouldn't even say that, but I'm pretty sure everything's coming together right now in a positive way. So we'll at least tease you guys with that and leave it at that for now.
Imagine if you could have a place where you could actually smoke something.
Yeah, that's what we're working on. So we're working on a venue. We're in talks with the venue right now. We'd be able to do that, where everyone will be able to come hang out, and have a get together, maybe even a class followed by a get together followed by a class, if everyone, depending on what people wanted to do and involvement, and make kind of a big, once a year
class where I can legally smoke out my student.
Yes, that's what we're working on. So that's the exact thing that we're working on right now. Is we're in talks with the venue that actually has a permit in Oregon to do that. We're just trying to make sure that we can lock it down for 2 days and what weekends we can try and do that. So, but again, we're working on that right now. So
I got to jump something on there. If anybody's not taken Steve's class, it's awesome. I actually took it twice. It is so information dense. Your head's gonna hurt. Literally, I had to take it twice. Totally worth it. The ones that he does at Ouroboros Farms up near San Francisco. But if you have a hard time getting there and you're up in the Portland area, if Steve's teaching something, I'll go. I totally invite everybody else to go. It's so worth it. Just wanted to say that as long as you're on that subject.
I'm glad you mentioned that. If you take one of my classes and you sit through it, or maybe you were sick that day, or maybe you just didn't remember something, and it's the same class, you're more than welcome to sit back in it. We don't charge for that. I won't give you an update. It's like if there's a slide deck, I'll give you the different pages or whatever they're different. But I'm not going to give you a whole new booklet, but it just cost me a lot. But we will absolutely give you a you're more than welcome to sit through it if you've already sat through the class and purchased the class before. So if you do live near anywhere that I do the trainings and you've taken one before, just know that you are welcome to come back again. Just bring your binder with the slide deck so I know you took it. Alrighty. what other topic? Oh, so Marty, do you want to talk a little bit about your growing pains in Oregon and that legalization thing? You probably don't, but I'd love for you to do a synopsis of
Make
all
them
that.
hurt. Make them hurt.
Just like episodes like 50 through 100 of the podcast, just listen to those. You can hear me. Kind of like Roger's ex-wife.
Well, do you want to at least give like a TLDR like of what happened and your situation and why you're in the current life situation that you're in because of all the bullshit that happened?
Yeah, it's basically, I mean, you have in California now, Oregon was model opening there now where they said, okay, we're gonna ask recreational cannabis. Of that compromise is gonna be that we're gonna give or ability or authority or whatever you want to call it to essentially vote independently on a county and city level what you felt like regulation should be. And in Oregon, actually, there was a little bit different setup where the county at first had to have a measure, had to have a certain percentage of no votes in order to qualify or not. But they put that all out. California is the same way. It doesn't matter what you voted. You still, your whatever council members are deciding or was ultimately going to come down to, regardless of what your vote came to. What they did here established that, sort of a secondary market. So original market, which is managed by the Oregon Pro, which was all medical growers, which existed before legalization. Any recreational stuff ever happened was for years, like or something like that. I've been in it for I think 6 years. Very long time. Market, a product, lots of variety, lots of small growers, lots of craft growers, a variety of products like at the medical, you could find multiple options for CBD extracts and made locally, not like mass produced and shipped across the country. So you had, you could have at least one always in stock, which is now almost impossible to find in any district. Good fucking luck. Only 2, maybe 3 medical districts. The rest of them are all recreational for the interstate. And before that, there were, it's like all the dispensaries that exist were all medical at one point. It popped up after recreational. So what happened was legislation came out, gave the county the ability to do all this, established a second market for recreational, which was managed by the Liquor Control Board. Didn't know anything about cannabis. They even basically went on record saying, we don't know anything about cannabis. But it was all based on the same logic. One, the original village was like, we need to get this legalization happen. What we're going to do here and say that we want to regulate it the same way that they alcohol. Because Oregon, they regulated, you have alcohol stores where you buy basically anything except beer and wine above a certain percentage of alcohol. The state ran and licensed liquor store, you can just go buy it at Safeway or anything like, or bar. I suppose you can go to a bar and get those things too. But so if you want the original logic, which I do think works probably good for selling the overall product, but they sort of said, okay, let's go ahead and do that. Since we're going to manage it like liquor, we'll go ahead and just give it to the liquor people. Which I feel like is fucked up on a number of levels. First of all, I don't know anything about cannabis. Cannabis regulations, alcohol does, and see, there's not really much that they share in common. Like, there's no threat to me that put a jar of weed on the counter. If my 6-year-old gets curious about it and drinks it, it's not gonna kill him. Alcohol, if you left your, and he for some reason knew too much of it, he could easily do. So different substances like require different regulations, and they do it because of this equivalency that they created, that we just manage it the same way. It is what it is now, but that's just sort of one of the avenues and to start shutting down different things. So another compromise they made is they said, okay, well, since you get the ability to now, you just have to allow people to grow. You can't completely take away the right to grow, and you have to be within. They have some like jargon in there that was supposed to do that, and that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
On top of that, they had states that were like, or counties that just said, okay, or you had counties that just said, what we want to do. You can't grow anything. If you grow anything, it has to be for yourself, on your property, indoors, where nobody can see it, smell it, hear it. Like, you know, like,
you can be gay, but you can't like men, right?
Right. Exactly.
Crazy.
You don't have gay sex, it's fine.
Yeah.
And you had that recreational and medical was all driven around urban areas. Urban areas voted for it. So you have Portland and Eugene that pretty much put through a lot of this, and all the other counties, or a lot of the outlying counties, especially the farther south that you get, you got very polarized. And so, like I mentioned, Mammoth County, they voted to ban it. Here in Jackson County, they tried to go back and forth, and eventually they banned it outdoor, basically based on land zoning. So if you had farm use land, you could grow outside. If it was residential, then you could probably not grow very much, as in you could grow for 2 people that live on the property. So I could grow my wife. That was it. So and then where I'm here, areas around urban areas. So like, here, not really in an urban area. It's like a small neighborhood. I have a 1/4-acre lot with a decent sized backyard. I could probably fit 60 plants, like big plant there. It's a long, probably. And so I had, when you asked it, definitely know before they shut down that I'll be able to produce out there. So, so because I'm only a certain distance away from other urban areas, I also can't grow outside. It has to be inside. That's mostly because they have a complaint system. For the guy next door filed a complaint because he's an older Republican asshole. Whatever. But if I complain, otherwise they're not supposed to say anything all clean. The other thing that was in the county level, they didn't want, people just driving around looking for pot grows to issue fines. It wasn't something they want to do. But anybody wanted to complain, was allowed to complain and didn't like the smell of their neighbor's pot plants. What happened to me here. And so all the money that we put into raised beds and all the soil that we brought in and everything like that, substantial amount, like enough to run 48 plants is what we put in. And now I can only use it for tomato or what I can fit inside. So yeah.
I miss watching your outdoor grows on YouTube, Marty.
I'm watching them fucking person, man. It sucks. And so I grow outdoor. I mean, I grew like watermelon and some novelty stuff to have something. That is basically just gone. I mean, I recouped it in the first year, most part, but I could have grown a lot more with it. That's true. And my neighbor has the ability to do that. He yells at kids are walking by or whatever else. Like he's just, he's like, you say, get off my lawn, grumpy old asshole. I have a way to complain or do anything about that. He can do what he wants to, but I can't grow plants back anyway. Thing. And then so then we tried to move, and then same zoning is trying to buy anywhere that you can grow on. Did at every house we've tried to purchase, and so cost has gone up so much. Sort of stuck where I'm at the moment until we can find something that works. That's it. And you had probably, I don't know, over 2,000, it was about 2,400 registered growers in Jackson County. And about 90% of them were growing on zoning grow for anybody else. So I had 6 patients that I've been able to grow. We had, all the cards lined up to do 48 plants. So that would have been area. Now, even previous to that, to legalization all recreational, we have done 72 plants in our backyard. So that was back when it was just the medical program before any passed at all in the county got or anything. It was just state regulation. You're at the place, then you could have up to 72 plants based on the size of the property that you had and the distance. That was pretty much the only regulations you had that around it. Was one of the things they could ask you to put up if it was like visible from the public, like that. There was a few regulations, but for the most part, you had more testing to the dispensary, but any could bring it in. They could bring in product and have it tested and have it sold at the dispensary. I can pay on it and that for medical before any of that stuff ever existed in higher plant counts. Or there's no delineation between growing indoors or outdoors, or just the proximity to your neighbor and accommodation that you'd be forced to make. That was pretty much it. So now, fast forward to where we're at today, there's, I believe, very few, only was left registered in Oregon. Pretty much all of them have gone recreational because the licensing is so much cheaper and there's nobody to sell product. So we pay fees to both market and the market and the medical marijuana program registration, be a dispensary for both of them just costs more money. And ultimately,
Am I the only one who's hearing this kind of like breaking up a bunch?
Yeah.
No, he's
I'm
breaking up on my end too, actually.
Yeah, mine is breaking up a lot.
let me turn off my camera and try.
Why are you breaking up a lot?
Anyway,
I thought it was me.
so
Quit stuttering. Quit stuttering.
I'm not used to this. Quit
My list.
stuttering.
So I don't know how much of that you guys caught or didn't catch, but that's
No, I'm able to put a lot of it together, understanding what you're saying.
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
the,
you're breaking up.
Doesn't sound easy.
So I had something I wanted to mention real quick. So I'm in Cali, and I'm just south of the Bay Area. We can't get any concentrates. I can't get any weed, not through a dispensary. There's no dispensaries that have been relicensed. I have to go all the way to Oakland and then wait multiple hours in line to get into there because everywhere is closed and the lines are insane. So again, we've harped on this before. 64 was wrong. It wasn't right. You should not blindly vote for legalization bills because it has the word legalization in it. You need to make sure that you are voting for a bill that does not allow local control or has a very limited time period for local control. You need to vote for a bill that has pesticide testing to assure you are getting clean product. You need to vote for a bill that has potency testing as a requirement. You want to know if you're getting a 3.2 beer or if you're getting 151.
Got to drive.
If you're relating this to alcohol, am I drinking liquor or am I drinking beer? That's a big difference. So these are
it's wider with cannabis. It's a bigger difference. I mean, you can withstand a much bigger dose and you can feel a much lower dose. The dosage of cannabis is so broad. You know what I mean? It could never compare to alcohol. Because if you could do 100 shots of alcohol.
Having the control and knowing what you're getting is only respectful of your end client. And that's who you're growing it for. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the pillars, and that's the biggest thing. I've been through Colorado, I've been through Jamaica, I've been through California now's legalization, and all of them have done something wrong. Now, Colorado did arguably the least things wrong because they already had a really well-established medical market. They beefed up the staff for the inspections, for the everything, the infrastructure needed for that 6 months beforehand, got them all trained ahead of time, and then implemented it. And then anytime they did any pesticide differences or anything else, it was phased in. People had 6 months to a year to stop using stuff rather than saying, right now. Now, I get why people disagree with that and saying, hey, no, we should stop using this stuff immediately, but you have to at least give people a chance to adapt and not take such a financial hit that they're out of business, and that
make it okay for them to take the high road.
Destroy millions of dollars worth of product that reasonably is well within what is allowed, and what is reasonable.
Yeah, cannabis businesses all over in all the states have been allowed to be too precarious, too on edge, from all angles, even from the inability to put your money in the bank. How dangerous it is to run a dispensary in Los Angeles or something like that, where you have to, where you're collecting tens of thousands of dollars cash, right? And then every week you have to run to the courthouse or whatever in your SUV with your friends following behind with their.
I'd rather get stopped with a truckload of marijuana than a truckload of cash. Can I get a second?
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, it's terrible making people live like that.
It's insane. It's insane what has to be done currently in the market just to stay legal. It really is. And I think if the country understood how psychotic some of the stuff we have to do just to be legal,
Yeah.
Like having armored cars and dudes with body armor come pick up our cash and take it to a secret armored location.
Cannabis. That's so unmarried. Mary
Yeah.
Jane doesn't like that shit, man. You know, she does not.
Right?
We grow pot and we listen to Spotify. Just take the guns and go home.
Casinos don't have to deal with half the crap that we
Mary
have.
Jane is being treated like a side chick, right? Green Jeans.
Yeah, man. It's terrible. It's disrespectful.
And not only that, you have the ever-evolving licensing thing, which don't even get me started. Like, we had everything shoot into this one township. Everything was gravy. We had a meeting with the city council and the mayor the day before. Day comes the meeting. Nope. Wait longer. Wait 6 to 8 months longer.
Psych.
It's infuriating. So, on another note, let me point out that same town, the largest employer in the entire town is a large greenhouse company that was previously doing vegetables and cut flowers and other things. They are now moving out of town because of that ban and their delay. They are removing the largest employer of the entire town because of a handful of stubborn people. They have they're going to cripple the economy of the entire town thanks to a handful of ignorant people that are uneducated.
Yeah. Crazy.
I'm not going to say where because I don't want to get myself in trouble, but it's infuriating. But you know what? There's plenty of townships that are willing to capitalize on this too. So you just migrate to where you're welcome. And that's all there is. There's so many townships right now in California that are coming, have open arms to people.
There are so many girls at the dance. Even a guy like me could go home with something pretty.
Right?
I like. How about some other countries too? You know, like
the
whole rest of the world is gonna.
Right on, man. The United States definitely does not deserve that tax revenue.
No, not at all. But California is the biggest legal market on the planet, so
I still love this country. Got to admit it. Love this place. And I'm working to make it better. I don't accept it as it is. I'm not saying that. I'm actually rather uppity.
I spent a lot of time in Canada. I love Canada too.
Hell yeah.
I'm kind of Canadian.
Canada. Montreal.
It is groovy. I'm actually looking at making a run across the border before Trump builds another wall to prevent us from getting out.
Right.
The one preventing people from
getting on the inside, right?
I just don't want one to prevent us from getting out.
It's prevent us from going to Mexico. Screw all this cold. I know most of the North is tired of this crap.
I'm sure Mexico is awesome. Mexican people
much better than some of the frickin' racists.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's great down there. I used to live 3 miles from the border. I used to go over all the time.
Wow. That's the best thing about Southern California is Mexican culture. I have so many wonderful Mexican friends. My best friend.
The food.
Wow.
So good.
Don't even talk about it. They're the best sushi chefs, Mexicans are,
It's funny. It's funny
Yeah.
teaching a couple of Jamaicans that had never done sushi out of the ocean before how to cut sushi off a fish on a boat that we just caught. That was interesting. They're like, let me get this straight. You're going to eat that and not cook it?
Yeah, man.
That was really funny. They had no one had ever exposed them to the concept before, so that was really funny.
Wow. And you just pulled it up out of the ocean. That's the perfect temperature, don't you?
Right? Exactly. I just shot this thing 2 minutes ago. It's fine.
It's perfect temperature. It's fresh because it's still wiggling,
Right? I just skinned it. So, anyways, that's some of the benefits of doing some of the other projects we work on. We're gonna have at least one some filmings outside the U.S. here, at least twice this year that we have scheduled currently. I'll have more details on that as we get closer to the dates. There's more in the works right now. Also, we have some other cool stuff. Working on getting a really cool interview with somebody. We're working on getting Frenchie Cannoli on the show.
Awesome! I love it.
Oh, let's go.
Love Frenchie.
So, yeah, I'm gonna go over and take his hash class too on the 20th. Actually, let me promote him on that. So on the 20th of January, he's teaching a hash class in San Francisco. It's a full day class, $250. You do have to have a medical cannabis card for the state of California if you attend. The upside is that you can easily get a medical cannabis card for California, even as an out-of-state resident. You can go to nugmd.com, and on nugmd.com, I'm going to mute Tommy real quick. Okay. You can go to nugmd.com and get your license that way if you're, visiting or something like that. And
state people can go, right?
Yep. So if you're checking it, I can't recommend him enough. I've spent some time with him, smoked a bunch of his hash. He's probably the best rosin / regular hash maker that I've had a chance to ever smoke from. His stuff is just on a whole different level. And I know Tommy can attest to that as well.
Master. He's like a ninja hash maker. Yeah, if you were to write a script and you were going to create a character, you wouldn't think about half the shit that Frenchie knows.
Yep.
It's really cool when you get to like bump up against an artisan who could give a rat's ass about pretty much anything in the cannabis space, but the man makes some badass stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
We've had a couple of really amazing sessions with Frenchie, to say the least. So we're going to get him on the show. I don't have a date on that. I'm trying to get him on this month, hopefully before his class, so we can promote it, and that'd be cool. And then Jorge Cervantes. I have a couple of other people. I'm trying to get a couple of other people that I've been in talks with at work to come on the show that you guys have heard of that I haven't been a chance. Tommy and I have so much going on right now that I wish I could tell you that we can't. It's awesome. Lots of good things coming. It's just, it's very stressful. And if you have a heart condition, don't try to own a cannabis company. I'm telling you that right now.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that.
I'll tell you, if you're going to have a real cannabis company, the only fucking way to do that is you damn well better have heart. Or you ain't going to make it. You got to have heart.
There's too many.
So if your heart has a condition, it's not recommended for you.
Not with a heart condition, but you damn well better have some heart. Yeah.
So as Tommy likes to say, there's far too many people in the cannabis industry trying to hustle and not do business. Yeah. And that's kind of the problem that is currently plaguing the industry. You have lots of people trying to backstab each other, steal each other's stuff.
Oh, because everything in the cannabis industry is based on the truth. It's based on truth, and it always has been. Even back in the days, trust, and truth. Yep. And Mary Jane is, I hate to go back to that, but she's generous, and you're giving your friends your excess medical oil, and that's life. That's life with Mary Jane. Everyone. And the more people, as we were pointing out before, the more people grow in their backyard and everything.
Right.
How are the big corporations going to be able to keep up with, keep up with that?
Well,
I
think what you're going to see is you're going to see a model similar to what happened with beer. You're going to have Ambev, or whoever ends up being Ambev, or whatever the hell it is now. You're going to have 2 to 7 big players that are going to provide all of the cheap stuff, all the bread and the Budweiser, the Coors, the Pabst Blue Ribbon.
90%.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's best.
90% of the market.
You're going to have the microbreweries, which are going to be your, hopefully, will be allowed to exist. Will be your small, small time growers, maybe 10,000, 20,000 square foot growers that provide really high quality product, but maybe don't have a huge facility or are limited on what they can produce, just in a small, more niche market. I think that's really where
it's be hard to stop that because of genetics, because the way now we're getting into breaking down everything, to all the different compounds and the amount of THC and the amount of THCA, THCV, and CBD, and all the different terpenes and everything. So that's all genetically based for the most part. But the other component, though, is terroir. Is the local, the slight micro stresses of whatever that local environment that you live in, and however your soil is. And so there's many wonderful places to grow cannabis where the genetics can be matched to the area, and it's going to be hard to beat that. Everybody all over the world is going to want to get a little taste of that. You'll be willing to pay. You'll know who that person is, who those people are growing in those places, and it's like, wow, you got to try this. But it'll be cheap. It won't be that expensive, and as well it should be. I mean, I really think that's kind of that's kind of the direction we're going. I don't think we really even have to defend it all that much. I don't see how to fight it. I don't see how a big corporation, I guess, if they invest in a lot of little growers like that. But
I want to throw a monkey wrench.
One strain's not going to make everyone happy. You can't make everyone. There isn't a Budweiser. You need to switch strains all the time anyway if you're sort of a connoisseur recreational user and you just love
exactly. Variety is the spice of life.
You're missing something.
You build up a tolerance too quick. People are like, I need to take a tea break. Yeah, no, because you don't have enough different jars in your fucking closet, dude.
In that you're so into what you do, and total respect, and like I love learning from you.
So are you guys. Come on,
the average
birds of a feather.
Honestly, won't do this.
Hot calls the kettle black.
The average person won't do this. I love that there's a podcast here for people who can get together. But like sometimes when we talk, we just think it's easy for everybody to do it. And I love that this podcast has come together and answers people's questions. There's places like I Love Growing Marijuana. People can go to Marty, go to Steve and hear all this stuff. But sometimes I think we miss that there's a lot of folks out there, they can't get into it on this level and deal with the different components. And I think they're going to need what we're talking about. This,
amazingly, a lot of them have a lot of money.
Connoisseur levels.
Investing. Yeah. There's people that are getting newbies. Sorry to interrupt you, Tommy. They're new players coming in with tons of money, and they don't know shit. If they watch this podcast, they wouldn't know what the fuck we were talking about. I mean, or it wouldn't be all that enlightening to them. I would say a lot of the stuff we talk about doesn't going to make much sense to you if you haven't been in this game for quite a while.
Eventually, the math's going to work. The math will work. I've looked at the math. It's valid. It is.
Well, on that point, if you are a little clueless on some of the stuff we're talking about, episodes 1 through 22, Marty and I kind of went over a bunch of topics, different nutrients individually, a lot of different grow topics specifically, and we didn't have guests on the show much yet. And those are really good episodes if you are looking to play catch up. I can't recommend those enough. I know that Tommy, and a couple of other people really recommend, especially the first episode. We go into the very basics of aquaponic cannabis production in the first 10 minutes. Like we go through a very quick overview of it. And then I think it was episode 10 or whatever, we went through like an equipment list, and we would go through a lot of really basic stuff if you're really just totally clueless on all this. And again, we have all that archived on the website, both mine and Marty's. God forbid something happened to one of our channels. And have it all backed up. So if something happened to both of those, you can get the first 15 episodes up on SoundCloud. I do need to finish uploading the rest. I have to download them and then re-upload them, which is the issue. So.
And cannabis is really easy to grow. Everybody who's a beginner, who hasn't been doing it as the major player for the last 10 years and is not Mr. Old Legacy, Mr. Green Jeans, and 45 million years of experience. Bullshit.
This podcast,
when we sit down, as a consumer, as a consumer of cannabis, which I am, I love it. I'm on the same. I'm same with all of you, with everybody else we're all together when we sit down and smoke a bowl, you know. Uh, and with growers, people who grow, you know, everyone grows so many different ways. I love growing is you know, is varied. It's one of our oldest, you know, agriculture. I think it's one of our old. We have so much ancestral memory or something, you know, that everyone becomes an individual grower right away. You know, you can study my method and you can say, oh, cool, what's your recipe? What kind of fertilizers do you use? But everyone becomes their individual. You know, everyone goes their own way right away. That's the thing about growing.
I can smell it.
So there's no, yeah, you know, you can't pull rank on anybody in those areas. You know, I have a lot of experience in breeding, and I think when I talk about breeding, sometimes I might I might go from 0 to 60 too fast, but you know, growing, you know, who knows, and consuming, oh boy, you know, I'll just sit, I'll shut up, you know. You guys tell me, because actually that's what I'm really interested in. I love to hear everyone's experience about what they feel, you know, when they're when they're using it, and for what reasons, you know, what their experiences are with the medical, you know, applications and recreational applications, because I don't really believe there's much of a I don't see a dividing line between the two. So
I think the person best qualified to answer what all the different ways to intake cannabis are is probably Tommy. He knows more ways than even I do.
You know, it's funny about that.
Gotta hang with you, Tommy.
I was just trying.
Got a cough to get off.
One way
Shit.
of Gorilla Glue straight up on the end of a lighter. And that works, and I like it sometimes. What's really awesome about it, it hits you right now. That's a fun way. There's other ways of taking the molecules and wrapping them so that they're more available to you. And depending on where you leave them, like if you leave them under your tongue for a while, I've found about 5 minutes is the time. You can get really, really rapid uptake that way. You can put these molecules on your skin, especially if you're mixing them with like a coconut oil. Oh my gosh, your skin, coconut oil. It's like one of those romance novels with Fabio on the cover. Your skin's going to love it. Guys, girls, everybody's going to love it because it just fucking works. You can get the molecules right into your muscles, into some joints and stuff like that. You have people that are compromised, you know, with their digestive tract and stuff. You can even take the base oils again, and the coconut oil, you know, that's been mixed with some lecithin. You can put just that oil in a simple gel capsule. And this is a ghetto, redneck, or whatever you want to call it, suppository. But you can get those molecules into somebody literally in a place that they can uptake them very rapidly, especially if they've been wrapped with some lecithin. There's so many different ways to get these molecules into you. I enjoy smoking it. It's a recreational part of my
suppositories are actually a lot more bioavailable as well because they don't go through the liver and break down.
Well, that's what Tommy's talking about, recreational suppositories.
Well, you know, you can do that too, especially
sounds like an oxymoron.
Wearing, you know. But yeah,
maybe not to use on it.
Yeah, there's I think it's I think it's really great. Like we focus here on people can get, you know, making their own stuff at home, and also learning that there's multiple ways besides just smoking. And nothing wrong with smoking. If you don't like smoking, I understand that. Sometimes it gets a little bit, you know, on my lungs.
I love it.
But yeah, there's many ways to get those molecules in your body and really enjoy the fruits of all the hard work you'll do to make those pretty nuggets.
I had a question there, Tommy, and Steve will probably be able to jump in on this one as well. But okay, whenever you're using cannabis topically, does that show up in a drug test?
I would imagine so. because if you're feeling it, it's in you, you know. The skin is, especially with some of these kinds of molecules, if you're doing with the lecithin kind of stuff, is one of your largest organs. It is a permeable barrier. It's a barrier that you interact with the environment. You sweat nasty shit out. Ask your girlfriend if you don't believe me. She'll tell you, yeah, you need to shower. You could also take molecules in. That's why we're able to take advantage of it to transdermally, get the CBDs, the THCs, different stuff in people, just directly on a rub. Mixing some stearic acid and things like that with that will also help with that. But yeah, if it's in you, if you're feeling it, good rule of thumb is, yeah, it's going to show up on some kind of test.
So what I have found when I did research on it is that whenever you put it on topically, it only enters your skin and muscle barrier and doesn't actually enter your bloodstream, and therefore would not show up in a drug test.
Wow, this is interesting information. I'm not familiar with this. Thanks for that.
Well, I mean, that's kind of why I asked you to see if you would be able to allude to that, and I figured I'd go ahead and provide you with whatever I have, found through research,
Just not
I
qualified.
would disagree with that. So I worked at a dispensary, and we sold a product specifically that was THC, and you put it on your forearms. You put a dab on your forearm, and you rub your arms together like this on the thin skin on your arms, and that was designed to get you high. And that most definitely was going into your bloodstream and had THC, and definitely would show up in a drug test. So if it was a CBD only product derived from hemp that they could prove had no THC, which I don't know if anyone can right now.
Oils definitely absorb. There was that test with garlic and coming out people's breath like in a couple of seconds. If you rub it on the soles of their feet, it only takes 10 or 15 seconds to circulate.
DMT, not DMT.
Your breath.
DSMO. Are you talking about DSMO?
No, not DMSO. No, it was a thing with measuring for the molecules in garlic, and it'd probably be. I'm sure they're oils. It's alls. The class of, and I think as people had rub the garlic on the balls of your feet and measure in the breath, and so while the person is breathing, takes about, I guess, 15 or 12 or 15 seconds for the garlic to go through the bloodstream and start coming out the breath. And of course, that makes complete sense.
Yes.
And it's an oil, it's an all, and so all these other, all the cannabis related, they're all gonna go right through your skin really good. What you were saying, Steve, about the skin being really thin on the inside of the forearm is really interesting. I never thought of that. And there's also a lot of blood vessels right there.
I got a fun story about that.
Bring it.
I was hospitalized for almost because of that. So I was working at a pet.
For how long?
Almost a week. So I was working in a pet store, and we had a really cool anemone display tank, and we had a bunch of really rare, very venomous anemones in there, and only like me and the owner were allowed to work on it because of what was in there and the fact that I had been trained and worked with all this dangerous stuff before, and I was allowed to do it. I was the manager. So I'm working on the fish tank, and this lady and her kids come in, and she's like running around. It's a Saturday, and this lady goes, and her kid runs in front of her. She trips and falls and grabs me right on the waist while I'm cleaning the glass in this fish tank. Well, I fall into the fish tank, like not through the glass, but I put my forearms out so I don't break the glass, and put my arms directly into the center of 3 separate and highly venomous anemones that immediately venomate me all across the whole thin skin of my lower arms, and get basically wrap around my arm, give me maximum envenomation on both arms.
Wow.
I immediately, it felt like I stuck my arm into a campfire, both of them. So I immediately like jumped back, started screaming because like I never felt that kind of intense, like both like heat and electrical kind of pain at the same time, for lack of better explanation. And immediately went into shock because of the pain level and fell on the floor and had a seizure because of the envenomation and the fact that I happened to be allergic to it. So I started convulsing on the floor, and they had to end up taking me to the ER. And I woke up like a day and a half later with like, no memory up until, other than like falling back out of the tank and screaming, and that's the last thing I remember. So that was crazy. Like I was laid up for 4.5 days before I got to go home, and I mean I had a severe reaction to that. I didn't wait, I was out cold. So that was scary. But that was the worst incident I've had with working in the pet industry. I got bit by a vine snake and by a hognose snake. Vine snake escaped from his cage and was above the tank on the shelf there, and I didn't see him. And I went looking in his cage, and I leaned forward, and he dove down and grabbed me on the nose. Whole face got numb. That was fun. I panicked for a minute on that one.
They're fast too, like black racers, like they're stiff really kind fast. Of, right? They're not relaxed, and they're super fast running around.
Then I got bit by a brown widow once when I was a lot younger, and that sucked because it gives you muscle cramps all over your body. And that really sucked. But it was not as bad as a black widow, but it's still sucks a lot, So, and then lionfish and moray eels and stingrays, but those are not, in my opinion, anything that's that bad compared to the other things I just described.
And the worst thing that's happened to me is I was rejected by a redhead, Did
that envenomate you?
What fun is life? It was
my heart felt like it was imploding. That's the closest.
I did lose my job. I was working for a chain pet store on the East Coast, and ended up this guy came in and wanted to buy a blue ring octopus, which we sold. This guy had 3 small kids. Well, first off, octopus love to escape their tank, and if you're don't really know what you're doing, they will escape, and it's gonna die, or you're gonna end up getting bitten when you or your child finds it. And 2, this guy had 3 kids under the age of 5. There was no way that I was selling this to this guy. There was just no possible way. He wasn't taking me serious. He wasn't listening to me. He didn't understand the gravity of what he was purchasing, and I was just like, "There's no way I'm selling this to you." And I got fired for refusing a sale, and it was like, "Dude, screw you." Like, you don't understand that, like, this, I'm not going to be responsible for the death of this kid when this thing escapes the tank and the 3-year-old finds it and picks it up.
It's a poisonous octopus or what?
Yeah, it's a brightly colored, squishy, moving object. Of course, a child's going to pick it up.
Steve, in San Pedro here in Los Angeles, they have, at the Marine Aquarium, they have an octopus that does not have a closed lid on its top and does not have huge weights, and all of the tubes are not blocked. It's an octopus that apparently does not try to escape. And as far as I've heard, that's the only, I've never heard of an octopus that isn't an escape artist. They're all
short bus octopus.
All of them.
Yeah,
but they all have individual personalities, though. They're supposedly individuals. Maybe this guy, this one in the San Pedro Aquarium in Los Angeles here.
We had one in a pet store that we trained one at a pet store I worked at in Philly that would open, twist off beer bottles. It would grab onto it and twist off the top of the beer bottle. And we'd take open beer bottles and we'd put food in them, and we'd screw the cap on and put them in the thing, and he'd go and get the food out. It was really cool. They're super smart, but they watch how you open the tank and they remember where the opening is. And if you don't have that set up for that, you're screwed.
You're screwed. Yes. Yeah, they're good at learning from it. They'll learn from other, which is they have culture. They can learn things from others, even other species, not only from each other. Which
is beyond our own.
Yeah,
seems to be way beyond.
Yeah,
but then isn't it? They live a very short life. Isn't that true? Not very many octopuses live very long. What's a long life?
Easy. That's the problem.
Yeah, most
Huh?
of them are 4 years. Most of the ones you can keep in an aquarium live for 4 years or less.
4 years or less. Well, I think all octopus. I don't even think unless they live really far deep in a really cold place. There was that one offshore in off the Monterey that they watched for over a year, watching her clutch or something like that. She was some famous octopus, but she was way down deep. You know, it was so cold down there.
Yep.
And they were like, "Oh, she spent half her life watching her clutch of eggs. Isn't that incredible motherly devotion?" You know, wow, it is.
There was nothing
Octopuses
else
are
on
amazing.
TV. Seemed like a good idea at the time.
We're like thinking about talking to aliens. Yeah, or I could talk to, you know, geez, if we could even just talk to octopuses, but like, what would we even talk about? You know, like what would be, what would be the subject
Jeff
of
Sessions.
discussion? You know, hey,
Jeff
how you guys
Sessions.
doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Sessions. We both discussed, but Jeff Sessions sucks.
Yeah, Jeff Sessions sucks. Well,
And
you know, they can predict. There was Paul that predicted the fucking World Cup, right? Right, you guys, Steve, you should have asked your octopus some stuff. You guys should have made some money off him. You could have used it.
Oh yeah,
You could
doing
have asked
predictions
him.
and all.
Yeah, doing predictions. Was his name Paul? Right, predicted all the.
Yeah, did the world?
all
Yeah, the World Cup predicted all of them. Yeah.
I'd like to
That's
be
incredible, man.
under the sea in an octopus's garden.
Well, I think we could introduce the octopus to wheat too. You know, we got to figure out a way to like give it in a form they can eat.
Yeah.
Get
Well,
the
I think
octopus.
And then we'll go James Bond and bring in Octopussy.
There you go.
I bet you if we invited one on this podcast, we might be able to get him interested because you probably got to, you know. I mean, they're probably pretty fast, you know, paced, right? You can't. They don't want to, you know, they don't want to wait for. They don't want to wait for the information. You want to? Well, no, maybe not. Maybe that wouldn't work. I have no idea.
Alrighty. Well, does anyone else have anything else? I saw we lost Roger and Dave. They're with growingmarijuana.com. I love growingmarijuana.com. Marty is AP Meds on YouTube, as well as Patreon. And then you got Fish Ganja Guy earlier. He also has a YouTube channel. Brain Grow, you want to tell people how to find you?
Yeah, definitely. You can check me out on I Love Growing Marijuana. That's where I'm posting updates at least every 2 to 3 days with pictures, explanations, all that good stuff, descriptions. And I'm posting to Instagram still as well. And also wanted to give another shout out to ILoveGrowingMarijuana.com because Roger did hook me up with a seed pack. I got a pack of the, it's called the Platinum Pack. And it has Super Silver Haze, Purple Haze, and Gold Leaf, which is the IOGM strain that Robert Bergman developed or whatever. And I got that in today, so I'm going to be probably popping one of each of those seeds coming in February whenever I start harvesting out the Ninja Fruit. So another huge shout out to them for that.
Awesome. Thanks again, Roger. What about you, Mr. Green Jeans? How do people find you and the stuff that you do?
Greenjeansgarden.com. That's GENES, not JENES. Green Genes, as in genetics. Greenjeansgarden.com. I think it is. Yeah, it's a pretty new website, but yeah, you could probably find me there, and you could email me directly. You can ask me about what the hell is that Jack Herrera? Oh my God! What are you talking about?
What about you, Tommy?
Yeah, just Tommy J here from Old Fart Grows. I haven't been posting stuff, been really, really busy. But very, very grateful to be able to come in here and say hi to everybody on this podcast. Really like staying connected, even though I'm off doing a lot of paperwork kinds of things and everything now. So don't have a whole lot of content up, but definitely looking forward to seeing people again next week here. Invite your friends, send love and everything, and we'll talk to you again.
Yeah, Tommy and I have been working real hard behind the scenes, getting a lot of the back end stuff for a new company off the ground. Everything's going really awesome, and yeah, everything's just going really well. Can't talk about anything this second, but yeah, all good news. And we'll have announcements here in the next probably month or two. We'll be able to talk about some updates. That's probably about it as far as that goes. And then, yeah, just doing a little bit of hiking and gardening. Around here has been mushroom hunting season in Cali. So it's been getting rains occasionally and doing a lot of wild mushroom foraging. So that's been a lot of fun. Picking a lot of oysters and squirrels and suillis. So that's been really cool. And yeah, other than that, it's been working really hard.
One last thing. If you made it all the way to this part in the podcast and you don't text resist to 50409, you're a dirty rat and bastard, okay? You're a dirty rat and bastard if you made it to this far in the podcast and don't text
50409
to 50409 and get involved politically. You're a dirty rat and bastard. That's all I have to say.
Yep. 50029. Text it. Word resist. Find out your congressman on it. Harass the living crap out of them in the politest way possible.
Yeah.
Keep the Urbacher FAR Act on as a thing. Tell them, your family depends on it. Your business depends on it. People depend on this. They cannot allow this to happen. So, and if they hear from a ton of people, it's the better chance that we have. It's the best chance we have to make sure that we, can basically spit in the face of Jeff Sessions and the shit that he pulled today. If you really get back at him, that is how you get back at him. That is how you fight him. You think he sucks? I think I saw at least 18 posts today saying that Jeff Sessions sucks dicks, a big bag of dicks. If you want him to suck that bag of dicks, text resist to 402. What was it? 4029.
50409.
50. Yeah, go ahead.
50409.
50409. And make sure you text resist and find out who and let them know that this cannot stand and that we shouldn't tolerate this crap from this, racist little elf.
Thanks again to all the live viewers.
Yes, thank you for all the live viewers. We had an amazing amount of live viewers today. We had over 50 live viewers over the course of the show today, which is the most we've had in a little while. So hats off to everyone. Continue to promote it. If you guys enjoy what's on the show, please share it with your friends and help us, grow our community. Like I said, we're going to try and do an event this year, just kind of as a thank you to everyone that supported us the last 2 years. And we're working on that. I don't have a date yet. It'll be sometime probably in the summertime. But we're working on trying to put something together for our community that we've built up so far. And yeah, so thanks for everyone. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care.